But, yeah, I'd say defensively. I mean, that's my, role that I want to excel at, especially on this team.
Bronny James recently shared something unexpected that caught many people off guard. After dealing with months of reported tension in locker rooms, public criticism, and constant pressure, the son of LeBron James finally spoke out. What he revealed surprised a lot of people across the basketball world. But when you really break everything down, the endless debates about favoritism, the rumors that kept spreading, and the nonstop criticism online, you're left with a simple reality. He's just a young player who wants to play basketball. That's always been the goal. The most emotional part of this situation isn't about his stats or limited minutes. It's the fact that Bronny seems to have accepted a version of himself shaped by outside pressure. Not the version he once dreamed of as a kid watching his father dominate games, but a safer, more reserved version that avoids constant scrutiny. After a February 2026 game against the San Antonio Spurs, where he recorded a season-high performance, he didn't focus on scoring or highlights. Instead, he emphasized defense. He spoke about doing the less visible work, the kind that doesn't make headlines or highlight reels. When asked what part of his game he values most, his answer made his mindset clear. He said defense is where he wants to excel, especially on a team filled with star players. He openly acknowledged teammates like Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves as primary scoring options, placing himself in a supporting role without hesitation. He explained that players like him are needed to handle defensive responsibilities and contribute in ways that don't always get attention. It was a grounded, team-first perspective. What stands out is the contrast between his current role and what many would expect. Growing up around greatness, he likely imagined himself making big plays and leading moments. But now, at just 21, he's publicly embracing a role centered on defense and support rather than scoring. That's what makes the situation feel heavy. Because when you look at his performances in the G League, it's clear he has the ability to put up strong offensive numbers. He can score, create plays, and lead when given the chance. But in the NBA, those opportunities haven't been as consistent. Instead, differently.
There's a lot of guys, Luka, LeBron, and AR, so those guys can go get buckets whenever we need them.
The pressure tied to his name seems to have pushed him toward a more low-profile role, one that protects him from criticism. By focusing on defense and doing the dirty work, he avoids the spotlight that often comes with offensive expectations. In a way, it makes him both visible and invisible at the same time, valued by his team, but not always recognized publicly. When asked about defending Victor Wembanyama during that same game, he didn't shy away from the challenge, despite the size difference.
But, they need guys like myself, Vando, Jake, guys that can, defend and, definitely get more satisfaction out of that.
He simply acknowledged it and said he was ready for whatever came his way. That response summed up his approach: steady, composed, and willing to take on any role given to him. Those few words, being ready for anything, carry a lot of weight. They reflect everything he's had to deal with so far: expectations, criticism, and constant comparison. Yet instead of reacting emotionally, he's choosing to adapt and keep moving forward. To really understand his journey, though, you have to look beyond this moment. Because the pressure he's facing didn't start in the NBA. It comes from carrying one of the most recognized names in sports in every arena, whether it's sports or any other field. People often decide who you are and what you're meant to be long before you ever get a fair chance to prove it. And in the NBA, a league built on legends, dynasties, and generational greatness, there's perhaps no surname that carries more weight than LeBron James. The expectations tied to that name are enormous, almost crushing. When your father is LeBron James, widely regarded as one of the greatest players in basketball history, every part of your life on the court is scrutinized. Every shot, every mistake.
Single excuse.
Something else for sure. I'm one of the smaller guys on the floor, guarding the tallest guy in the league, so it's definitely a challenge.
Every improvement, even your body language, gets analyzed under a global spotlight that most 21-year-olds could never realistically be prepared for. Born on October 6, 2004, Bronny James grew up under that intense attention as the eldest son of a global superstar. He attended Sierra Canyon School in Los Angeles, where he quickly developed a reputation as a legitimate basketball prospect in his own right. He earned a 4-star recruit ranking and was listed among the top prospects in the ESPN 100 for the class of 2023. He also appeared in elite showcase events like the McDonald's All-American Game and the Nike Hoop Summit, where scouts praised his defensive instincts, athletic ability, and strong basketball IQ. Even as a high school player, however, the noise never stopped. Critics constantly questioned whether he was truly skilled enough to succeed independently, or whether his last name was the only reason he was being noticed at all. That narrative followed him everywhere and never really faded. In July 2023, everything changed in a way that had nothing to do with basketball. During a USC practice, Bronny suffered cardiac arrest caused by a congenital heart condition. For a moment, the sport itself became secondary. The entire basketball community watched in shock as a teenager fought for his life. He was rushed to the hospital, spent months recovering, and had to rebuild his path back to the game from the ground up. When he finally returned in December 2023, making his college debut against Long Beach State, he showed glimpses of the talent that had once made him a highly regarded recruit, contributing across multiple categories in limited minutes. Over his freshman season, he averaged modest numbers, and USC finished with a losing record, missing the NCAA tournament. On paper, it wasn't a standout season, but considering what he had survived, simply being back on the floor was itself a major accomplishment, one that many felt deserved more recognition than it received. There were still moments that stood out. A career-high scoring game against Oregon State, strong all-around performances against top-ranked opponents like Arizona, and steady contributions in assists and defense showed that he could impact games beyond scoring alone when given opportunity and rhythm. Still, public perception rarely focused on that context. To critics, he wasn't just a recovering athlete or a developing player on a struggling team. He was simply LeBron's son. And because of that, expectations were unrealistic. Many expected dominance, not gradual development. When that didn't happen, the tone shifted quickly from support to criticism. By April 2024, Bronny declared for the NBA draft and was selected 55th overall by the Los Angeles Lakers. That moment made history, as he and his father became the first father-son duo to share an NBA roster at the same time. For the James family, it was a deeply emotional milestone built on years of struggle, recovery, and persistence. However, outside that family circle, the reaction was far more divided. Accusations of nepotism spread quickly, with many arguing that his draft selection was based more on his father's legacy than his college performance. Critics pointed to his limited production and questioned whether he would have been drafted without his surname. Others argued that nepotism has always existed in professional sports, especially in organizations with long-standing family ties in ownership and management. What makes this situation even more complicated is the deeper issue of systemic pressure inside a league already filled with legacy connections, family influence, and generational advantage. But instead of balanced discussion, the loudest voices online, the ones chasing views and engagement, focus heavily on breaking down one young player piece by piece. The harsh reality is that the external criticism was only part of the story. Behind the scenes, away from cameras and microphones, things were reportedly far more tense. From the moment Bronny James officially entered the Los Angeles Lakers organization, whispers started circulating, not from fans or media, but allegedly from inside the locker room itself. The first major wave of tension reportedly surfaced during the 2024 NBA Summer League. What was meant to be an exciting beginning to his professional journey quickly turned into a more uncomfortable environment than expected. According to multiple post-event reports, an unnamed teammate expressed frustration, claiming Bronny was being treated differently from others on the roster, creating resentment within the group. Additional insider commentary suggested that this perceived favoritism disrupted team chemistry. While no one directly accused Bronny of wrongdoing as a person, the dynamic around him was reportedly strained, with some players feeling the structure of the team was uneven. One account even claimed that morale dropped to the point where players were simply waiting for the summer league to end. Despite this development, reports of internal tension continued to circulate. Some claims suggested ongoing friction involving teammates, and even alleged disputes during practices. However, many of these stories originated from unverified sources, making it difficult to separate fact from speculation. Still, the volume of discussion online created a perception of ongoing instability. Even without official confirmation from the organization, the narrative gained momentum due to repeated claims across social platforms. Through all of this, Bronny continued to show up and work. He maintained discipline, stayed focused, and kept improving quietly. Even as public criticism grew harsh, he remained committed to his development. One of the most important moments came when he reflected on his mindset after scoring his first NBA basket. He emphasized that he had been taught to play the right way, a phrase that now defined his approach. For him, that meant staying grounded, avoiding distractions, and focusing on contributing within his role. His father, LeBron James, also offered insight into how difficult the journey has been for his son. He acknowledged the immense pressure Bronny faces, not just as a player, but as the son of one of the most scrutinized athletes in history. LeBron praised his son's composure, noting that handling constant attention, criticism, and expectation at such a young age is extremely difficult. He described watching his son succeed as one of the most meaningful experiences of his life. Despite all the noise, Bronny continues to progress. His recent season shows improved efficiency, stronger shooting percentages, and steady development in limited minutes. Coaches see him evolving into a defensive-minded, energy-driven guard who can contribute in specific roles. More importantly, he has remained mentally steady through everything, from online criticism to internal pressure and constant comparison. Instead of breaking under expectations, he has continued to build his identity step by step. In the end, Bronny's story is not defined by headlines or speculation. It is defined by resilience, adaptation, and persistence in an environment where every move is analyzed. He is not a finished product, nor is he the narrative many online voices try to create. He is a young athlete still developing, still learning, and still fighting for his place in a highly competitive league. So what's your take on this? Do you think the criticism is fair? Or is the story being exaggerated online? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy deep breakdowns like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because there's always more behind the headlines than what you see on the surface.